All right, welcome to my news report. Today we're going to be talking about the 1956 Minamata disease, which was, of course, identified in 1956 per the name, and it originated in Minamata, Japan, which is a coastal fishing port. And so the cause of this disease, which is a nervous system disease, was identified as methylmercury. And there was actually a chemical plant called Nippon Chiso Hiryoko along the coastline of Minamata, and they were dispersing this dangerous chemical into the water. So
Here you can see the proximity of the factory to the harbor, so you can see just how detrimental the effect was to all the people living in this harbored area.
So one of the main ways that this disease affected humans is people would consume these infected animals, such as the cats and the fish, and the birds even, and they would actually be consuming this methylmercury at the same time. And the people who consume the methylmercury would often end up with illnesses that could range from like convulsions to kind of more psychological behavioral like issues, but also there were dangerous birth effects for if they consumed this methylmercury and then gave birth to children. Kids were being born, missing limbs or fingers and toes and all sorts of other things. So this also ended up having some pretty big economic impacts on the city. There was a big decrease in fishing, and basically that was the main way to make money in the city. And so they kind of took that away due to all the pollution. And the factory, the Chiso factory, actually acted like they had fixed the problem. They rerouted their drainage from the river into one of the harbors, actually, and claimed that it would, eliminate the methylmercury, but it actually didn't, and they only, did this so that people would feel safer and there wouldn't be as much unrest about the problem, even though they hadn't really fixed the problem. And so this kind of facade continued for about 20 years until there was a statement. Well, there was a statement from the government in 1960 that identified methylmercury as the cause of Minamata disease. After the government recognized methylmercury as the cause of disease, the victims who had been subject to Minamata disease were more focused on getting their money at this point, because the government also claimed that the situation was safe and under control at the Chiso factory. And so they were sued for negligence, the Chiso company, and it actually ended up being the largest sum given out in Japanese court history to the victims, and all around was around 1 billion yen, which isn't nearly as much as it sounds in US dollars, but it's still a substantial amount, especially during the 60s when you adjust for inflation. And this also actually spread Japanese democracy, believe it or not, because there were many protests during this period where there wasn't any action being taken by the government or the company to alleviate the situations. And so this is one of the effects of the Minamata disease. It helped kind of democratize Japan in a way. And people learned of the danger, of mercury through this whole process, and it kind of allowed them to learn this lesson that you can't be expelling mercury into people's water, and if you are, you have to be responsible for it, because all the people that were affected and died due to the negligence of the Chiso company kind of serve as examples to the future of what not to do. So this is the 1956 Minamata disease.